conditions on protests and demonstrations, and I support their right to do so as long as they're lawfully. So, for example, recently I took part in a protest, roughly speaking, 1 million people, to do with a people's vote. The organisers liaised with the police and made sure that the process was peaceful. For example, the rally ended in Parliament Square. Stephen Yaxley Lennon and his supporters regularly protest. I disagree with them passionately, but the police impose conditions, for example, only between certain hours should they be outside Whitehall. On certain days they can't go in certain parts of London, and that happens regularly. There are 3,000 protests a year, and it's not unusual for the police to impose conditions. For example, with the Extinction Rebellion, the police imposed conditions. With those protesting against Donald Trump, there were agreements reached between the protesters and the police. Something unusual about that. In relation to, inverted commas, the genocide, look, that's one of the reasons why the protest wasn't banned, because in a democracy it's really important that people are allowed to protest. Democracy ain't just voting in elections, it's being able to protest, it's signing petitions, it's lobbying your MPs, it's lobbying the mayor, etc. So the fact that the police, for operational reasons, want to impose conditions to make sure our city runs is not because they've formed a view on any particular protest, because that leads to a conducive run in the city. And in relation to you educating me about Diwali, I was in Trafalgar Square this weekend celebrating Diwali. Unless I'm mistaken, Trafalgar Square isn't a temple, and so yes, it is possible to celebrate Diwali outside of a temple, a gurdwara or a mandir. So look, I'm happy to have a ding-dong with you about protest and human rights, but I think you've got to accept that in a democracy the police have a really important job to make sure the law is upheld and our city functions. That's what they've tried to do. It doesn't mean they've